This video is supported by Chip Drop, and what better way than to tell you about Chip Drop than to do it from a site where I've just dropped some chip. So Chip Drop, which is getchipdrop.com, is a website. It's very simple. You basically look on a map view of your local area, you see the little pinpoints of the drop sites, mostly residential drop sites. You read the description. If it's something that you want to drop at and it's close by, then you click to confirm the drop site, go drop the chip, simple as that. And the best thing about Chip Drop is that even if you have like a local dump where you can dump for free, sometimes that can be an hour drive from your job site, and sometimes you might fill up the truck more than once during the day. And if you use Chip Drop to have a quick look if there's a local site nearby or somewhere closer than your regular dump site, it can save you a 45-minute drive there, 45-minute drive back. And as I say, time is money, so Chip Drop can be really convenient. So go to getchipdrop.com and give it a try. If you've not tried it before, it is so useful. So try getchipdrop.com. Happy to talk about what happened last week.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
That'd be good to hear and learn from.
It's pretty nuanced, so it will be hard to describe, but
Right.
Basically I was doing a removal. Actually, I was taking over for a removal. I had been on the ground the previous day and sort of grounding and providing a little bit of mentorship for a newer climber to do his first, well, maybe not first, but a next level in removal for him. Lots of material. It was a 2-stem Grand Fir, tons of branches and debris. Everything had to be rigged, and sort of there was some things for him to work out to figure it all out. And then the next day he went to a different job and I was there to rig the wood down. But there was still one top left in one of the stems. It happened to also be a double stem. It forked at the top. And as Grand Firs are, they're pretty tip heavy at the very top. Like there's a big cone load and the tops just get super dense. So I was a little concerned about the weight, especially considering it was 2 tops and they were tied together. So my intention was to take them at the same time so that I didn't have to go all the way up there and free them separately. And I had, there was plenty of strength in the stem and in the rope and the block and all the rigging to handle the weight of taking that load out, negative rig it. Basically, I had a tough time assessing the lean, or like the way the weight was favored because of the 2 tops and the way they were tied and the dog legs in Grand Firs. So I made a call to fall them in slightly an unfavorable way to the rigging, but it felt okay, like it wasn't going to be a problem. And I was also tied into the other spar so that making my cuts, they were close enough together that I could do all that and realize that if I knew the rigging could handle it, I didn't ideally want to be on the spar because I knew regardless of what happened, I was going to get rattled a little bit. And so being on the other spar meant that I could be well away from all that and not, regardless of how the guy on the ground running the ropes handled it, I was going to be out of the equation. So I felt like I was making all the choices I could to put myself in a good situation. And when it came time to do it, the wind picked up and totally screwed me in terms of the weight. It didn't want to go. It actually pinched my saw. But it wasn't so heavy that I couldn't have pushed it over. So I ended up having to lanyard into that stem so I had the power to give it some extra effort and push it over. And in the back of my head, I thought, I should do this and have a hand on my clip and just unclip and swing back to the other spar, which happened to be just a couple feet higher. So I had some vertical suspension, which was nice. That's wishful thinking. When it all started to play out, I didn't have the ability to unclip that. And I had slightly misjudged some of the angles. And when it came over, the rigging line went through, I made 2 face cuts. in the two little tops just above the fork, and the block was below the fork. Had I just put the block 2 feet lower and taken it as one big pitchfork, tuning fork type thing, I probably would have avoided this. But the rigging went sideways and then hooked through the new crotch I had just made and ran through a natural crotch. So the person on the ground had obviously adjusted friction for a block, and now there was a giant natural crotch, and the load just locked up.
Out, yeah.
Yeah, and it was a pretty heavy one, so I went for a pretty good ride. And after doing this a long time and having that happen a few times, it doesn't really faze me the same way it looked to the people on the ground. Like, I know how to ride that ride safely, not get my fingers in the way, and not get hit in the chest with the top of it. But it was ugly for sure. There's video of it.
Good.
Shit! That was not meant to happen, I don't think. Jesus Christ. Jesus.
That was like a pretty wild ride.
And I damaged some rigging because the rope ran over top of my whoopee sling. And luckily I had bound the slack up above the loaded part of the sling. So the only part that got burned was the tail with the rigging line, but now I have a shorter loopy sling. And no bruises or anything to speak of, but the relatively new arborist on the ground was pretty rattled. You can tell by the cursing in her video. She thought I was coming down out of the tree, and she was a little surprised when we lowered it down, and I just got on with the rest of it.
Yeah.
Because nothing serious had happened, but it was not ideal. That's for damn sure.
So did you speak with her afterwards, like to reassure her that you were all good and what had actually happened, or is that what you were saying about you need to like debrief a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it'll happen company wide when that happens because other people heard about it, and I can only imagine what the guy who started the removal thought. I wonder, he's a thinker, and so I wonder, he's probably thinking, oh my God, that would have happened to me, or that could have happened to me, or I could have got hurt. He could have easily taken it as a one-to-one, like, if I had been there, this would have happened to me also, not taking into account that had it been him, he might have handled it differently because he might have been more nervous and gone, well, I'm not comfortable taking a top this big, so I'm going to go up and tease them apart and take it as two separate tops. When in reality, the right call would have probably been to just go a little bit bigger. I mean, we're talking an extra 60 pounds of weight probably by taking the whole crotch at that time.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, I was trying to mitigate that risk by creating others.
Yeah. Well, so, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
I was before you even got onto that, I was going to ask you about any incidents or close calls you wanted to share for people listening to learn from. So that was perfect. That's
probably the most noteworthy one. I mean, there's other things in my career, but nothing really that I can think of off the top of my head.
Well, it's good because it's so fresh as well. So
yeah. I mean, that was the middle of last week, I think.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you doing this. I won't take up any more of your evening because we've been
no worries
going for quite a while. But I really appreciate you giving up your time and chatting with me for the benefit of other people.
Shit! That was not meant to happen, I don't think. Jesus Christ. Jesus.
Careful. That looks like a pretty wild ride.